Let's create a simple project, random code generator using React and understand essential React ingredients. By this project, just rate yourself on the basis of how much you are aware of React. In our project, we are going to use 5 most important ingredients which you will be using in almost all the projects of React. We will understand what are components. We are going to see what is JSX. We will understand what are props. Then we are going to learn about state. Then we will see hook. So in this, we will understand what is use state, and also we are going to understand what is use effect. So in a random code generator project, we will be using all this concept. But you should always make a note that JavaScript is a core language in web development. So without JavaScript, you cannot start with React or you cannot start with Angular, because React is built on JavaScript, which means if you are not aware of JavaScript, then it will be very difficult for you to understand React. So first, whenever you are starting with React, at least you should be having fundamentals or basic knowledge of JavaScript. Only then you will be able to understand React. And when it comes to JavaScript, these are the essential topics you should be having whenever you are starting with any project in React. That is, you should know how to import and export. You should be aware of function. You should be aware of asynchronous JavaScript, and also you should know how to handle events. Create any simple project in React. These are the essential JavaScript topic you should be aware of. Once you are comfortable with all this concept, then easily you can create your React applications. Now let us start with the project. As this project is only to rate yourself, we are not going to set up any environment directly. I will be showing you one trick. In your browser, you just have to type react.new. Hit enter. What it is going to do? It is going to open code sandbox. And inside this, we will be having all the starter files for React. We have public folder. Inside that, we have index.html. Inside src folder, we have app.js, index.js, and style.css. And you do not have to worry about package.json. Now inside this, I will come to app.js. I will select this entire code. I do not need. But now, if I click backspace, it is not going to delete because it is telling me to sign in. So what you can do, you can come here, click on sign in, and using your credentials, you can sign in or you can register into this code sandbox, because this will be very easy if you want to practice React without setting up any environment. Now successfully, I have signed in, and whatever code we are having, that is displayed on our browser. But inside this app.js, I do not need anything. We will write the code completely from the scratch, and also I will increase the size. I will come to index.js. Now we are going to understand each and every line inside this. Whatever code we are having inside index.js, this entire code we will be using in all the project, and this will be almost similar. You don't have to change anything. First line, we are importing strict mode from our React library. Before, we used to import React from React library, but now in latest version, we are using this strict mode. Using this strict mode, we can easily find common bugs in our component, and these bugs can be found early during development. So that is the reason we are importing strict mode from React library. Then we are having this create root, and this we are importing from React DOM/client. And using this create root, we can create the root to display our React component inside the browser. So that is the reason we are importing this create root. Before, we used to import React and React DOM, but as of latest version, we are just writing these 2 lines of code. Then here, let me just remove this line. As of now, I do not need that. Then what I am doing, I'm just creating this root. First, I'm selecting the root ID. I will come to public folder. Inside this, we are having index.html, and here I am having div with the ID root. I will come to index.js. So inside this, I have selected the ID, and inside this root element, div will be assigned. Then using this create root, what I am doing, I am just creating my root. You can either do in this way, or you can directly wrap this create root for this element. I will just copy create root. Here I will be pasting, and after this I'm just going to close. And here I will open parenthesis, and at the end I'm just going to close. I will remove this entire line, and instead of this root element, simply I will be giving root. So once we created our root, what we have to do? We have to use this root.render to display our React component. And inside this, directly you can either display this app component, or if you want to find the bugs, you can wrap entire application using this strict mode. Okay, very simple. First, we are importing strict mode, then we are importing create root, and after that, we are creating our root. Once our root is created, we are going to use this root.render method to display a React component inside it. And this is nothing but React component. Okay, now it is done. Now here I am using app. I will now come to app.js, and we are going to create our first component. Components are nothing but they are similar to our functions. So here I will be writing function, but whenever we are creating component, it should always start with capital letter. This is the convention. Then I will be writing app, parenthesis, then open curly braces. Okay, this is simple to normal function, and this function will be returning something called as JSX. Here I will open parenthesis. Inside this I will write h1. I will close h1. Then here I will write the text as hello world. But now inside index.js I am using app.js. So what I have to do? First I have to export this app component. Then I have to import inside index.js. So here I will be writing export, and I am going to do default export. I will come to index.js. Now here I am just going to import app. Import app from, now I have to give the file location. Simply I will be giving app. If you want to give .js, then you can give. If you do not want, then you can simply ignore. And this is our console. If you want to open this, you just have to click on this Chrome DevTools for preview. Once you open, our DevTools will be opened. Now here you can see in our browser, we have the result hello world. Whatever code we have written here, successfully we are able to display that result. But now instead of this content, I just want to display another text. Here I will write, let's get motivated by reading quote. Below this, I just want one button. I will come here. I will just give button. Here I will write new quote. I will be closing my button. But now if you see here, it is like disabled. It is not able to reach this code. So what we have to do? Whenever we are returning JSX, we have to return one JSX. But now we are having two elements here. So what I will do? This entire thing I will be wrapping inside parenthesis, and from end I will be removing this semicolon. You do not have to give. But now in this error you can see we got type error, and what we have to do? We have to wrap in an enclosing tag, and for that we can use JSX fragment. So this is how we are going to use, how we will be displaying elements, but inside this we will not be passing any tag name. So here I will just open, and at the end I will be closing. You can also wrap inside div, but If you do not want to create any extra element, simply you can use these fragments. Now here I am having H1 and also button is displayed. And in console, if you are still having the error, you can simply just clear this and you can refresh this, that error will be gone. Now what I will do, above this, I will be creating asynchronous function. For creating asynchronous function, first we have to write async function name is getCode, open parenthesis, and here I will just open curly braces. You do not have to write this function below return. You have to write the function above this return. Inside this, I'm just going to fetch API. On your browser, type get random code API and click on this first GitHub link. And here you will be having multiple links, and inside this API reference, I will just click on this first option, get random code. I will scroll down. Inside this, you will be having try in browser. Click on this and just copy this URL. Copy, and inside this fetch function, I'm just going to paste. Now what I have to do? I have to await for this result. So here I will be writing await, and this entire result I will be storing inside this variable. Again, okay, this is normal fetch function concept. Here I will write const data is equal to, again I will be using await res.json method. Whatever data we got, we want in readable format. So that is the reason we are using this JSON method. Now below this, I will just write here console.log, and inside this, I will display data. But now I have just created the function. Now what I want to call this function. Whenever I click on this button, I want to call this function. So here I will come. Inside this button, I will be adding on click. And this is nothing but event handler. Whenever I click on the button, I want to handle this event. What I have to do? I have to call this function. Usually, how we call? We simply call the function. But in React, inside JSX, we will not be passing in this way. We are not going to call the function in this way. And this is part of JavaScript. So entire thing we will be wrapping inside this curly braces. That's it. I will clear. Once I will refresh. Now I will just click on this new code. Now you can see successfully I am able to get this object. Inside this object I am having author, and also I am having this content. And this entire data is present at 0th index. So if I just want to access author, I will just copy this. Below this I will be pasting. I will write index 0, and from there I just want to access author. I will come here. I will refresh once. I will click on new code. You can see successfully I am able to access author. Similarly, if you want to access code, we are going to use dot content. I will copy. Below this I will be pasting, and here I will just change it to content. Again I will come here, refresh once, click on this new code. You can see I am able to access author as well as I am able to access the code. Now if you notice here, inside this object I am having only one index, and accordingly whenever I keep clicking on this button, my code will be changed and I am able to access different author and different content. So basically inside data 0 I am having author and content. So what I will do, I will just come here, I will write here const, I will simply create one variable random code, and from here I will access data 0, and below this I will just log this random code. I will copy, here I will be pasting, here I will write random code, copy this variable, inside this I am going to paste. I will come in this three things. Now I will come here, refresh once, I will click on this button. Now you can see I am having the Buddha and also I am having this content. Again I will click, I am having different author and I am having different content. Again I will click. So successfully I am able to access 0th index and I am assigning inside this variable. And whenever I click on this button, I will be having different code. Okay. Now successfully we are able to get the result on console. Now what I want, this entire result I want to display on my UI. So to display data on our user interface, we are going to use the concept of state. And this state is the most fundamental concept of React. So whenever we need something to change in user interface, we are going to change our state. First, we will be creating the state. For that, I will come here and it should always be on top. Here I will write const, and inside this, first let me just show you. I will write here console.log, and inside this I will be writing use state. As soon as I click on use state, successfully I am able to import this use state from React library. And here you can see, here it has returned me function. I will just call this. Now if you see here, inside this use state, I am having array. Okay, this use state is nothing but it is a function which is going to return array. So what I will do, I am just going to destructure this array. I will remove this. Instead, I will write here const. First value, I will write here quote. Second value, I will write here set quote is equal to, from use state, I just want to destructure these two values. And here initially I will be giving empty string. Initially I do not want anything, and from this use state I have just destructured, and this use state is nothing but function which will return array, and from that array I have just destructured. So in the first position of the array, we are having the value of the state that we call as quote, and the second value is our setter function. So using this function, we can update piece of state. And when we are using useState, we should always import useState from React library. If it is not done automatically, then you can just type by yourself. Now what I want, I will just copy this code, and in place of this, I will just remove this. I will be pasting. Now it is part of JavaScript, so I have to wrap inside this curly braces. Now you can see nothing is displayed. Now what I want, whenever I click on this button, I want my code has to be displayed. So what we will do, we are going to update our state using this setter function. I will copy. Below this, I will be pasting. Now what I have to display, I will just write here random code dot content. Now I'll come here. I will refresh once. I will click on this button. Now you can see after some time successfully I am able to get this code. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Again I will click on this. Successfully I am able to get the code. So using this first value inside the array, we can display the content, and to update this content we will be using this setter function. Inside this, what I want to update, I will just pass that code. From this random code, I just want to display the content. So I have just written here. Now same thing, if you want to display author, below this I will write paragraph. I will be closing paragraph, and inside this strong tag, and here I will be closing strong tag. Inside this I will be writing author, and author is nothing but, here I will simply write author. Now this author also I have to display on UI. So again I have to create my state. Below this I will be pasting. For this I will write author. You can give any name. And inside this I will be giving set author. Now using this I have displayed the author. Now what I want, I just want to update the author. So here I will write set author, and from random code I just want to access author. And here I will be closing paragraph. That's it. You do not have to do anything. Whenever you want to display the data on UI, we will be using the concept of state. If we want to change anything on our user interface, we are simply going to change our state. And from here, I will remove Q. Now I'll come here, click on this new quote. Just wait for a second. Now we are having author as well as we are having our quote. Now for this, I will be giving some space. Again, I will come here, click on this new quote. Successfully, we are able to get the author and also we are able to display the quote. Now what I want, below this button, I will be creating one paragraph, and inside this, I just want to display how many times or how many quotes I have read. And here I will be closing paragraph. Here I will write you have read, and inside the strong tag the quotes. Now you can see below this I am having you have read 3 quotes. But here instead of displaying static 3, whenever I click on this button, how many quotes are generated, that much number has to be displayed. Again, what I am doing, I am just updating data on my user interface. So again what I have to do, I have to use state. I will copy. Below this I will be pasting. Here I will be writing count, and inside this I will be writing set count. Initially I have to start with 0. Now what I will do, I will copy this count, and in place of 3 I will be pasting that count. Now what I want to do, I just want to increase the count whenever I click on this button. So I will copy this set count. For updating our state, we will be using our setter function. Now here I am going to use arrow function. Inside this I will be passing parameter. So whatever current value I am having, I just want to increase the value by 1. Each and every time whenever I click, I just want to increase the value by 1. Initially I am having 0. I will just come here, click on this new quote. Just wait for a second. Now here I am having quote. I am having author. Now you can see quote is increased by 1. Again I will click on this. Now I am having you read 2 quotes. Accordingly, quote is displayed and also author is displayed. I will close this console. So successfully we are able to get our count as well as we are able to update our count. So it is very simple. Whatever value I am having, that will be passed on next click. 2 plus 1, next count I will be having 3. So this is how it is going to update. So successfully using our state, we have got our code, we got author as well as we got the count. But now what I want, as soon as I refresh my application, I want at least one code has to be displayed. But here if I refresh, you can see nothing is displayed. We have read 0 codes, we have author empty, and also we do not have code. So in this case, what we can do, we can use our useEffect hook. So using this useEffect, whenever we are loading application, we can display some data. This is my entire asynchronous function. Below this, I will be writing useEffect, and this is going to take 2 parameters. First is callback function and second is dependency array. You do not have to worry for simple project what is dependency array. Inside this function, what I will do, I just want to repeat the entire process and I want to display the code, author and count. So what I will do, inside this, I'm just going to call the function. And here, when we are using useEffect, we should always import useEffect from React. Now you can see it is going out of control because we have not passed second argument, that is our dependency array. I will just pass here. Now here if I click, it will stop. I will refresh. Now you can see initially I am having my code. I am having author. But here if you see, you have read 2 codes. Initially I am having number 2 instead of 1. And we are getting 2 because of this strict mode. If I come here, whenever we are loading application and we are using the strict mode, what happens? 2 times it will execute to see if we are having any errors or not. If I just come in the strict mode, now I will just refresh the application. Now successfully I will be having, you have read one code, but when we are using the strict mode, 2 times it is going to execute and it will be giving us the result. I will remove this. Now initially I will be having 2, but as soon as I click on the button, successfully I will be having 3, then I will have 4. So each and every time it will be increased by 1. So using this use effect, if we want to display some data whenever we are loading application, we can simply call that function and we have to pass this dependency array. If we are not passing, then our application will be going out of control. Okay, till now we have seen about state, and also we have seen about use effect hook, and also we have seen what is JSX, and we have created our app component. Now to make this little bit real, what I will do, I will be creating one more component. So here I will write function. I will give my component name as message, and this will be returning my message. I will just copy this paragraph, copy, and here I will be pasting. Now what I want to do, I just want to render this message inside my app component. So how we can do? Copy, and here you simply have to write message. And we are using this message on the same file, so you do not have to import and export. Directly you can render in this way. But when we used app component inside index.js, we have to import and also we have to export. Only then we were able to use. But inside this app, you do not have to do because we are working on same file. But now the problem is count is not defined. Inside this function, I am using count, but this function is not aware of this count variable because this variable or this state is present inside this app function. So now the concept of props comes into play. What I can do? Simply, I will be passing the props. And prop is nothing but it is an object and it can be passed as a parameter to our function. First, I have to pass count data to this message component. Here I will be writing count is equal to, inside this curly braces, I will be passing my count. And this count is nothing but this one, whatever we have created. And this variable can be anything. But always it is a good practice to use the same variable name. But it depends on your requirement. Next, what we have to do, once I am having the data, I have to get this data inside this function. And to get this data, simply I will be passing props. Instead of passing count, I am going to use props. I will just come here. I will write here console.log and inside this I will display props. Here I will remove this count. As of now, I will be writing 3. I will just write here console. I will open this developer tool. Inside this, you can see what I got. Using this prop, I got object. Inside this object, I am having count property and whatever value I am having, successfully I am able to get that value. So what I will do? First, I have to enter inside JavaScript mode. Then I will be writing props. It is nothing but object. And from there, I just have to access my count property. That's it. You do not have to do anything. Initially, I am having 2. As soon as I clicked on new code, I am having 3. You can see successfully I am able to update this number. Now successfully we have completed a simple project using our 5 essential ingredients. We have seen component. This is how we will be creating component, and inside React each and everything will be divided into components. So for every content we can create separate component, and usually in real world projects we will be creating new file for this, and accordingly we are going to export and import. And then we have written async function to get our API data. And to display that API data on our user interface, we will be using state. And using state, we can easily display the data on our user interface. And initially, whenever my application is getting loaded, if I just want to display some data, then we will be using this useEffect hook. And this will be taking two parameters, callback function and dependency array. And if we are having multiple content, we can create separate component. But now pass data from parent component to child component. Simply, we will be using the concept of props. And prop is nothing but object. And from that object, we are going to access the property whichever we want to display. So now inside this app, we are rendering message. So this app becomes the parent component and this message becomes the child component. And these props can only be passed from parent to child. From child to parent, we cannot pass the props. I hope you understood important ingredients of React. Once you understand this concept, you can rate yourself on the basis of how much knowledge you are having on React.